Welcome to Fredericksburg Mission, a podcast talking all things mental health and wellness in the Burgh. Brought to you by...
How do you shorten the time it takes to buy a car? Car buying just got easier. Pohanka365.com lets you complete as much or as little of the car buying process online. Pohanka365.com. Car buying simplified. Anytime, anywhere.
Welcome to Fredericksburg Mission. My name is Angela Rivers, and today I am here with Ralph Branch III. He is the community-based supervisor for the South and West region of UMFS. He is the owner of the No Label brand, a father to a beautiful little girl, and a man who empowers his community to bring advocacy to mental health gaps. Welcome, Ralph.
Hey, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. Happy to be here.
Thank you so much. Well deserved for sure. So let's start this podcast by you just telling me and telling our listeners what you do for UMFS.
So, well, first again, thank you for the opportunity. Super excited. I'm glad we got it right this time.
Yeah.
But so for UMFS, I am, as you mentioned, the community-based services supervisor. And my job is to support all of our caseworkers in any of their needs. And then two, support our children and our families with everything that they need. We provide our children and families with a lot of services, resources. And it's just our job to, stand in the gap for them. There are a lot of opportunities and a lot of things out here that, they may or may not know about. And it's our job to, guide them in the right direction to get the help that they need. Another one of my key roles is taking care of my team here. I supervise all of our case managers, and they're the ones that go in the homes and do, some of the groundwork. And it's my job to look after them. We're the time of extreme measure. We're working in the middle of a national pandemic, and super important that I look after them, make sure they're taking care of themselves in the midst of taking care of our community. In a nutshell, that's what I do here at UMFS.
Yeah. And how do you go about, finding services and things for the team, for the youth, for the families?
I think it's, for me anyway, I can't speak for everybody else, but for me, it's all about connections. Most people, when they see me, they know I love to talk. My father's a pastor. I'm not, but I think I just have like that gift of gab. I talk to everybody everywhere. So for me, it's more so just being well connected, talking to everybody, wanting to know people's stories, seeing, like, what do you do? And then from there, you said it earlier, bridge the gap. I talk to everybody. I know a lot of people. I talk to people in the store. I talk to people about everything from what types of bread should I eat in the store to should I use this tool to make this desk. That's just me. And then from there, I just keep building on that. After a while, we live in a very rural area. After a while, you'll know one person and they'll know the same people. And then you have lunch and, you find community partners and then you just start connecting. So for me, it's just all about talking, forming connections. And that's one of the huge things I think that UMFS does a little different than other agencies. We connect with any and everybody that want to help. We very, very rarely turn down people that want to help, no matter, how big or how small. So, yeah.
Yeah. And you commute in from Richmond, correct?
Yeah. Yes, I do. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have connections probably in Richmond, and then you have connections in the South and West region.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Which I think is super important because, again, being in a rural area, we may not have like certain specialists or certain, types of therapies or certain outlets that people need. And if families are willing to, drive a little ways, drive to Midlothian or drive down Whole Street, there may be some other opportunities, just waiting for 'em. So yes, I think it definitely helps.
And have you ever seen, as you're working through the community, any stigmas around foster care? Have you heard of anything, or has something really stuck?
Yeah, a lot of times when I tell people I work in foster care, they have this they have this scary impression that the youth that are in foster care just are quote unquote bad kids, or kids that don't listen or don't act right. And at UMFS, you probably know, Angela, we have the saying, and the motto: children do well if they can. And there are no bad kids. There aren't kids that don't want to do well. Um, People don't wake up in the morning and say, "Hey, I think I want to terrorize something. I want to do something bad today." That's just not a natural inclination that comes to people's, minds. So yeah, the stigma that youth in foster care are bad kids or kids that are super difficult to work with, is something that we deal with all the time. Well, I think what people need to realize is that, I mean, these are just kids that may or may not have had the deck stacked against them. And a lot of times it's environmental, it's the nurturing, it's all of those things that play a role in how, some of these kids behave. I think if people understand that behavior expresses a need, we would get a whole lot farther, and that's just going back to just simple, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Our youth are trying to get their needs met. And a lot of times they're surviving and not thriving because they didn't grow up in homes that had the love, or had the mom and the dad, and, so forth. So, um, that is a real common misconception, is that youth in foster care are bad kids. That's just simply not true. They're just kids that need a little extra loving. They need a little extra support in school. They need a couple of more coaches, youth coaches and mentors and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and as the recruiter, I mean, that's people come to me wanting to learn about becoming a foster parent, and they do
hmm
have a lot of misconceptions.
hmm
Is there
Yeah. Yeah.
anything
And
you would,
and
yeah.
now I was just gonna say, I think it's natural. I don't want to make it seem like it's like you shouldn't feel that way, but I would really encourage people to educate themselves. Before seeing it on like a movie, or something like that. Like, I had someone tell me the other day, they said, as much as I know just as much about foster care as what The Blind Side taught me, the movie The Blind Side. And I'm like,
Mhm.
that's little to nothing. You know what I mean? It's probably the worst thing you could do, is depict something from a movie, or, so I would really encourage everybody, just educate yourselves, ask people, get involved, or try to, but again, these are not bad kids. Like I said, they're kids that need a little extra loving.
And how many kids are we really talking about? I mean, how many youth in Virginia are in foster care right now?
I now that I don't have an accurate number, but I can tell you how many we work with. We work with about 450 youth directly. And let me tell you, the I think more importantly are not the youth that we work with, right? Because if we're working with this 450 to 500, we're turning down on a monthly average. I mean, we're turning down 100 kids, because we don't have the homes, or we can't support them, or we don't have the specific nature of home that these youth need. And I think, to me, that's more disappointing than the 500 kids we work with. I would much rather be able to say, no, we can place every kid that walks through our doors. But that's simply not true. It's because we need homes, you know. So yeah, as many kids as we help, you know, we still go to sleep at night knowing that there are dozens of kids that, you know, I can't help. And that at the end of the day really, really hurts. Um, yeah, because I mean, my goal is to provide a home for every kid that we can touch, but it's just really not the case. So, but yeah, so we need help.
We do. And that's my goal too is I want to be able to place
Hmm.
every single referral that comes in for a child that needs a safe and loving home, and we can't do that. You know, a lot of people
Right.
ask me, where do they go? So where do they go? You know, if we can't place them, what happens?
Well, if we can't specifically place them here at UMFS, they may go to other treatment foster care agencies. They may go to other foster homes that are not therapeutic, which are options. Um, some kids go to group homes, which is definitely not the ideal setting for, you know, 12, 13-year-old youth. Some of them even go to higher levels of care, which are residential facilities, whether they be, you know, locked facilities or open facilities like our campus in Richmond. But again, if they can be placed in a home, those are not ideal situations, you know. Why not take those resources and funds that we're putting into keeping a kid in a group home or residential facility and invest those funds to a family? You know, I think that's the mindset that we have to have. Again, I think a step farther would also be in one of our initiatives here at UMFS is, you know, investing a lot of time, resources, and funding into kinship care as well. You know, I think UMFS is headed in the right direction, and we're right on the precipice of opening up the doors of kinship where we can keep some of these kids home. Again, treatment foster care is amazing when it's done correctly, but I tell you what's even better, it's if these kids never have to leave their families. You know, and let's say mom or dad have issues, can we invest resources and time and funding and services into, you know, auntie for 3 months until mom and dad are ready to, you know, get care of this kid back? That's the ideal situation. um you know, it sounds kind of funny, but really we're working to put ourselves out of work. You know, I don't really ever want these kids to have to come to me. So kinship is going to be the next level. Um, but if they don't come to UMFS, they get dispersed across the state, in some of these other places, which are really, really not set up to, you know, get kids where they really need to be. So
And then is that 400 number, is that in all of Virginia for UMFS, or is that just the South and West region?
that's all of Virginia. Yeah.
And then when people hear
And
South and West, what locations are you covering?
so we have an office. Our home headquarter office is located in South Hill, and that was the one that we started out of. You know, we started in the old school building where we had had 2 rooms, no heat in the hallways. I hear about those stories all the time. And then we moved into this beautiful location down here on North Mecklenburg. And then we opened up our Farmville office, and that's located right on 3rd Street. And then we opened up a couple years back. It was actually, gosh, it was like the year before I started, which was 8 years ago. We opened up the Lynchburg location. Now we have the offices in South Hill, Farmville, and Lynchburg, but we cover about an hour or so away from each office. So from Lynchburg, we stretch all the way down to Gretna, Smith Mountain Lake area. You know, if we have to start branching out further, we're going to look into that, but definitely cover an hour from that area. From Farmville, we go all the way to out towards Amelia, right up against the Chesterfield line. Try not to steal from our Richmond folks. um, and then to South Boston. And then from South Hill, we go Clarksville, Emporia, and all of the territories in between. So really, outside of the South and West locations, like we cover the most terrain. I mean, we're covering over 300 miles of terrain. So yeah,
Yeah,
we
that's a lot.
we're putting in work. Yeah, we're putting in work down here in the Southwest.
And then are you seeing a lot of youth coming into care? I mean, how has the pandemic changed things?
Yeah, yes and no. This past year, things really slowed down a lot. Naturally, I think everything and everybody slowed down a lot um, from this pandemic. Um, and I believe we kind of knew that. Um, However, we are starting to see now the uptick as departments are starting to get back to work and departments are starting to go back into homes and so forth. We're starting to see the uptick of referrals and youth and families needing more assistance. But during that pandemic, things were really slow, and things were kind of tough for our families. Things were shut down, school was shut down, so they were going through some of the same things that you and I were going through with our kids, not being able to go to childcare, not being able to go to school. And now although I mentioned that these kids earlier, they need a lot of extra loving. Our kids do come with some of the things that they need to continue to progress, like the therapies and the school settings, and they didn't have that. Like, that was taken away from the youth and our foster parents. So I mean, we had to work extra hard. Everything was virtual. Kids started to kind of burn out, parents started to burn out. I was burned out, with a 1 year old through this pandemic. Um, so yeah, I mean, the pandemic caused a little shift, but I will tell you that the pandemic also, I think, has increased like our efficiency as well when it comes to being able to, meet with kids. I mean, we can meet with kids like this now, whereas at one time maybe we had to drive 30 to 45 minutes to see a kid, and we can say no, let's FaceTime real quick. Which at one time I wouldn't say it wasn't allowed, but it didn't feel right. Now it feels more effective now. The same thing with our parents. We can answer questions quicker. Some of our providers, I have a family now working with a therapist in Richmond, and they are doing things virtual, and it seems to be more convenient. They can get more in virtually, and it's working. Now some of our youth still need face to face. Some of our parents still need face to face, but it works when you can do a doctor's appointment, at 4:30, as soon as you get off, and not have to take off work and drive here and do certain things. So some things have become more convenient. And we become more innovative in the way we do case management as well. Um, but it was a struggle. It was tough. You know, um, it was harder to help our parents with respite, because of the fear of the virus. It was like some parents were like, no, I don't know if we can bring kids in. I don't know if we can do, the things that we used to do. But yeah, I mean, we made it through. And that's what I'm happy about. We made it through. We were still pumping through, and we had kids still getting adopted. We still brought in youth. We helped a sibling group through this. We were able to collaborate with other regions to help with placement. So, but we still got it done. It was just a little more strenuous on our staff and our parents. So
Yeah, and even as families were coming in to learn more about it, we moved things virtual, which was so great.
hmm
Families don't have to
hmm
give up a weekend or an evening to do the training. They can do it from the comfort of their own home, which
hmm
is really nice. I'm going through families that have inquired 2 years ago, and a lot of their hangups were, well, my husband can't be there at the same time as me, or vice
hmm
versa. And it's like, well, now you can do it,
hmm
on the computer. And so I think
yeah.
that hopefully will bring in a lot more families.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. And I think it's gonna help, you know, because we are in. I think it'll help and it'll hurt. I think the convenience factor will definitely help some of our parents. A lot of our parents, where we can get those quick inquiries. We don't have to wait. We don't have to, you know, yeah, align schedules. It's like, hey, if you're into it, let's get you this training and let's go. What I don't want us to lose is the relationships.
Yeah.
Um, because again, I think UMFS does the best job at forming relationships and making sure you are like a part of this family. When you come here, it's like family, nothing less. And I don't want to lose that. And I think that's the only thing that's kind of tripped us up too, throughout all this virtual, is that some staff weren't able to continue to build those relationships that were needed to get this work done. Because there's a lot of trust that goes into our work as well. If I'm coming into your home and I'm asking you to do, A, B, and C with this kid, like you have to trust and know that and kind of feel sometimes that this person is telling me the right thing to do. I think that's where I kind of miss the old social work, you know, because when I was in the homes, I could really make you feel that this is the right thing to do. We're in this together. Whereas now, you have parents like, is this the right thing? Does this worker really know what they're doing? So yeah. I think there are pros and cons, but definitely I think we can jump into this hybrid world of social work. If anybody's going to do it, it's going to be UMFS. So
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I know, here in Fredericksburg, we need certain types of families. We don't have enough of certain, you know, races or
mhm,
genders or ethnicities or anything of that sort.
mhm.
How diverse is the South and West region? Are there families that you all need as well, that you all are missing?
I wouldn't say we're missing because we are super diverse. We have, I mean, we have all types of families. We have older families, younger families, African American, Caucasian. Um, we have same sex families. I mean, we have all types of families. So I wouldn't say we're missing, but we definitely need more.
Hmm.
We need
Yeah.
we need a lot more because we bring in. I mean, again, I don't want to turn down a kid ever. So my goal is to have an abundance of families. I want to have more families than we can use. You know,
Hmm.
um, especially now with, I mean, gosh, we were thinking the other day we don't have a lot of families, um, bilingual families, or families that know a lot about, Latinx cultures, or other, ethnicities, or cultures. So I was thinking, I'm like, how can we get more of those? One of my good friends, she always tells me a lot about. She's Egyptian, and she always tells me a lot about her culture and her family. And she asks questions: what if we got a kid like this, or what if we had this? And I'm like, yeah, somebody's gonna have to educate this family. So I think more. I think families with more like foreign knowledge or foreign background or cultures would be amazing to start having, in the event that we start pulling in, those diverse groups. But definitely we accept all families. I mean, if you have space in your home and space in your heart, and you're willing to learn and grow, then we are the agency for you.
Yeah. Has there ever been a time where you've said, to yourself that, have you thought that you're making a difference, because you are. Has there been a specific time where it was like an aha moment?
Yes, it happens a lot. A lot of times, I was just telling this to one of our parents. I'm gonna plug my charger in. I don't want to lose you. I was just telling one of my parents the other day that, we we do so much that it usually doesn't hit you until like 2 or 3 days after. And it's not because I'm numb to it. It's just that when you're in the mix and you're in the moment, I don't have time to just stop and say, wow, this was really great. Usually like 3 days later, I'll text my foster parent and be like, hey, we did a bang up job on this, crisis or this, whatever. So it happens a lot. I think one specific moment, um, I had a kid, and this was years ago. Had to be like 3 years ago. I had a kid graduate, you know, and I hadn't heard from him. He left the program when he turned 18. He went home to his dad, and I was trying to convince him, like, just stay and graduate, please stay and graduate, because we know sometimes when our kids leave us, they get that 18. It's like I at least want you to have a high school diploma. And I didn't know what he was gonna do. And he said, Ralph, I promise I'm going to graduate. I promise. I really didn't believe he was going to keep that promise. But he left at 18, and then he called me. Gosh, he called me years later, and he said thank you. He was in Florida with his dad, and he just wanted to tell me thank you for the time that I spent with him, the relationships that we built, the people that I introduced him with, and that was probably one of the real first times that I said, okay, this kid picked up what I was putting down, because I give my kids a lot of stuff. Sometimes it's really helpful. Sometimes it's like little stuff they really don't need to know, but it's good to know. And this particular kid, I really had a real affection for, because I saw a lot of me in him. He was just like a teenager trying to make it through life. He had a little anger issues and didn't like school, just like me. He was like, he was like me, and really took a liking to him. And when he left, I was like, gosh, I just hope he graduates. That was my only thing. And he called me years later, and he wanted to tell me thank you. And that was one of the moments that I was like, you know what? Yeah, this is paying off. But I mean, as a social worker, we have to look at the small wins too, and sometimes the thank you has to come from within, knowing that we're doing what's best for these youth, and families, because the youth, they aren't going to just sit and tell us thank you, all the time, and neither are the families, so sometimes we have to find that within ourselves and say, what, as long as I'm working to the best of my ability, and I'm working with dignity and integrity, and I'm following the social work code of ethics, and I'm doing what's right for these kids. We have to look at ourselves and say, you are doing a good job, because we probably get those rewarding moments probably once a quarter. It's not as frequent as most people would think. A lot of people, every time I see them, they're like, you're doing God's work. And my thought is, I wish somebody would tell me sometimes. I wish somebody would tell me sometimes, So yeah, so a lot of the reward comes from within. So
Yeah. And then this isn't all you do, right? You have your own nonprofit called No Label. Let's talk about that.
I do. Yeah, everybody knows I could talk about UMFS all day, but I get a little shy when I have to talk about No Label. But yeah, No Label originated from my own journey and my own battles with mental health throughout my life. And I won't go but so deep. If people want to know, they can call me. I talk to anybody, but through my own struggles and battles with mental health came No Label, because I was diagnosed with a label that I didn't really agree with at the time, but I came to accept it. And through that, I wanted to empower other people to persevere. I wanted to empower other people to speak out about it, to not suppress it like I did for years. And I mean, therein lies No Label. So I was diagnosed with something. However, that label doesn't define me. That label doesn't make me the person I am. I can live through it, with it, and in it. And that's really what No Label is about, spreading that awareness to local communities.
And then does your work with No Label also support UMFS? Do
Yes,
they
it does.
intertwine? Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, UMFS gave me the foundation. UMFS. I mean, when I started working here, I'll be honest, I came from the schools. I was a school social work assistant before I came to UMFS, and UMFS gave me the foundation and the platform, and somewhat the confidence to be able to do what I'm doing. I mean, I was young. I really didn't know an avenue or a path, and UMFS provided that learning and that growth for me to explore, to screw up sometimes, to learn, to grow, to become the man I am today. And again, I'm able to speak out. I mean, yes, UMFS pretty much laid the foundation for No Label because he gave me the tools that I needed to be able to carry out my mission in the community. So now what I do to sort of give back to UMFS is at all of my community events, at anything that I do, I make sure that No Label has no label, that UMFS has a table there. In the past, I have had my recruiter, our previous recruiter. She came to a couple of the events and was spreading out, flyers, letters, anything, taking names, just to be a part of it. I always attach them to it. I just did another event where I invited all of our UMFS youth, our treatment foster care youth that we have. They got first dibs on, slots for the dance class that I hosted. And then with every UMFS purchase, people, every UMFS purchase, see, I get them mixed up all the time. With every No Label purchase, because we do have merchandise, UMFS letters, flyers, how to become foster parents are in every one. So the mission is being spread throughout. And I ship out all across everywhere. Sometimes it's not in Virginia, but I mean, you never know who may want to help, who knows who, or anything like that. So yeah, so UMFS it is definitely um, a huge inspiration, and I mean a foundation for No Label.
Yeah. It's a really amazing, amazing nonprofit. Just scanning it online and learning more about it, every time I hear about it, it inspires me.
Yeah, and that's really what I want to do. I have the role of, I mean, I'm the owner, CEO, whatever you want to call me. But anybody, and I only have 3 people that work with me, and all of our titles are the same. We're change agents. And that's what I wanted to keep it. I didn't want us to, and one, I say that because a lot of times when we're going back into some of these communities, we have these credentials, we have these everything that a lot of people don't have, but I didn't want to make us seem here, when everybody else was here. No, we're here. The only thing we are change agents, and you can be one if you want to work for No Label. You don't have to be A, B, and C. Like you just have to want to see change. Change in your community, change in your behaviors, change in the interactions that you see on a daily basis. And I mean, we have roles for everybody. I'm in the process right now. I have 2 kids in high schools that I just signed them to No Label endorsement deals so that they can be change agents within the school system. Because I can't be there. I need people there. So I'm trying to figure out how to create change on so many different levels. But I mean, that's the whole thing. No Label is here to inspire. I mean, yeah, it's inspiration on a daily basis is truly what we want to provide, that you can live through whatever you're managing and dealing with.
Yeah, it doesn't define you.
Right.
Yeah. Well, Ralph, I asked this question to all of my guests on the podcast. At UMFS, we pride ourselves as being unwavering champions. Our youth, our families, our staff, we're all unwavering champions. How do
Mhm.
you define yourself as an unwavering champion?
I mm, that is a great question.
I stumped you.
I think people, yeah, I don't know. Well, I think because I'm a man of action, so if I were to describe that, it would honestly be, well, one of our values, relentlessly pursuing solutions. Um, and you can see that through my actions. So if I were to define myself as an unwavering champion, it is, I mean, one, I'm going to lead by example. I'm going to lead through my actions, and I'm going to lead by relentlessly pursuing solutions for our children, our families, our staff, and anybody else, any of our other community partners, anybody that needs help. I think that's just the natural UMFS way. If I had to put it, I'm sure you see it with other staff. I'm not the only one that feels and thinks this way. It's about 500 of us that feel the same exact way. So to me, yeah, being an unwavering champion is relentlessly pursuing solutions for our children, our families, and I think that's something that I do on a daily basis. I'm doing it right now, but my actions show it. I mean, even if I can't put it into words, when people see me, I'm just a model of what we should be doing at UMFS, and that's what I pride myself on doing.
Yeah, that is 100% accurate for sure. Well, Ralph, it's been so
Yeah.
nice having you on. If any listeners want to contact you, where can they find you?
Whoa, they can find me a lot of places. Let's where do we start? Let's see. Well, you can find me at any of our UMFS locations, offices. I even work out of our Richmond location sometime, but definitely in the Southwest. If they want to reach me there, you can call any of our three offices, and they will direct you to me. You can find me online as a no label change agent. It's no label on most, if not all, of our social media platforms. My website, I have no label.com. You can go there and you can contact me as well. But I'm here. I'm here. I'm either at UMFS or online at no label. So, but yeah, but they can find me on all social media platforms. No label. I have no label.com or at UMFS Monday through Friday.
Well, thank you, Ralph. It's been so nice having you here. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing more about the South and West region, about No Label, and about all that you do to inspire the community. It's been really nice.
Thank you so much for having me. And like you said, hopefully just listening to what we do, we inspire someone to jump on board, become a foster parent, become a volunteer, a donor, anything that you want to do to help us continue to push this mission. These kids are our future. These kids are not lost. They just need a little guidance, and that's what we're here for. So yeah, if anybody's listening, come join this team.
Yes. Well, this is Fredericksburg Mission with Angela Rivers. Of course, if you'd like to learn more about becoming a foster parent, please visit www.umfs.org/foster. We'll see you next time. Thank you for joining us. I'm Angela Rivers with Fredericksburg Mission. Tune in at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you listen to your podcast. Join us again next week for our next episode.
How do you shorten the time it takes to buy a car? Car buying just got easier. Pohanka365.com lets you complete as much or as little of the car buying process online. Pohanka365.com. Car buying simplified. Anytime, anywhere.